But first, until today, we could not confirm who shot Ashli Babbitt to death in the Capitol building on January 6th. Now we know the officer's name, not because the authorities released it, but because he felt like revealing it himself. And he did with his sympathetic friends at NBC News. The officer's name is Michael Byrd. If that name rings a bell, you may have read it in the paper because it's the same Michael Byrd, the Capitol Police officer, who left his loaded Glock 22, loaded with no safety, in the men's room in the Capitol building in 2019. Now, if you handle firearms for a living in a police department or in the military, you know there's no greater sin than that. To leave it in a men's room and not report it? But he wasn't punished. Byrd reportedly told his fellow officers at the time that he would not be punished. He was right. He said he'd be, quoted, quote, treated differently because of his rank. He was lieutenant. In his interview with NBC News, that same Michael Byrd explained why he shot and killed Ashli Babbitt.
We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
I was taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
When you fired, what could you see? Where were you aiming?
You're taught to aim for center mass. The subject was sideways, and I could not see her full motion of her hands or anything. So I guess her movement, caused the discharge to fall where it did.
And what did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat to United States House of Representatives.
Oh, she was posing a threat. Well, let's see. She was 5'2". She was unarmed. There were armed police and tactical gear standing right next to her on the other side of the door, and of course within the chamber where Michael Byrd was. She was not warned. The tape shows that. She was just executed, but she was a threat. That's what he's telling you. Now, you'd think the fact, again, Ashli Babbitt was a female who was 5'2", weighed 125 pounds soaking wet, and had no weapon, might have suggested that she wasn't a threat. But according to Michael Byrd, no, never occurred to him.
Her family points out that she was not armed.
That's correct.
The fact that you weren't aware whether she was armed or not, did that alter the decision-making?
It did not.
Yeah, it didn't alter it at all. So she was an unarmed protester. I don't think we execute unarmed protesters, do we? Well, we just did. No one has apologized for it. He's a hero. In any other circumstances, imagine how the American media, which does seem to be the main moral arbiter in this country at this point, how would they treat an officer like this? Not well. But Michael Byrd executed an enemy of the Biden administration, so they're praising him. In fact, it turns out, and this may be surprising for you to learn, Michael Byrd is the real victim here. He's the real victim. Later in his interview with NBC News, Michael Byrd agreed that he's the real victim.
Could you give us the nature of some of those threats?
They talked about, killing me, cutting off my head, very vicious and cruel things.
Racist things?
There were some racist attacks as well. It's all disheartening because I know I was doing my job.
Given the nature of the threats that you describe, do you have any concern about showing your face and identifying yourself?
Of course I do. That is a very vital point, and it's something that is frightening. I believe I showed the utmost courage on January 6th.
I showed the utmost courage by executing an unarmed woman without warning her first. That's the utmost courage. If we live in a country where we let that pass, that's courage? No, that's not courage. I mean, we can argue about whether it was justified or not. Notice nobody is arguing. People are just praising him, including Republican members of Congress who should be ashamed of themselves. But if we call that courage, we've devalued the term. Aaron Babbitt is the husband, the widower of Ashli Babbitt. Terrell Roberts is the family's attorney. They both join us now. Thanks so much for coming on. Aaron,
Tucker.
First question to you. How did you feel when the NBC News anchor asks the officer who shot your wife to death, your unarmed wife to death, without warning her first, before shooting her, asked him, isn't he the real victim here? Isn't he the one who's really suffering? How'd that make you feel? I'm just kind of wondering.
pissed off. I mean, I've only heard a couple of clips so far, Tucker, at this point. It's not airing until 7 o'clock out here. I read the full transcript of it. I had not heard that one clip that you just played. My agitation level's actually going through the roof right now, where he admitted he didn't really care if she was armed or not, or unarmed or not. He didn't care. So, yeah, we're going down a bad rabbit hole right now.
Yeah, especially if the national media congratulate him for this, and the entire left, as one, gloats over your wife's death as if she deserved it because she voted for the wrong person. I mean, they're kind of saying that, and I'm sorry to make you feel even worse. I can't imagine how you feel now, but they're kind of saying that she deserved it and her life had no meaning. I mean, what else are they saying?
They've been saying that. They've been saying that all along. And I don't even want to hear him talk about how he's getting death threats and he's scared. I've been getting death threats since January 7th, 2, 3, 5, 10 a day. You know, and all I did on January 6th was become a widower. So you're going to have to suck it up, bud, and take it.
Yeah, well, that's... Mr. Roberts, let me ask you, we know Michael Byrd's name. By the way, the fact that he left a loaded firearm with no safety in a men's room and never reported it and kept his job anyway tells you that something's very wrong with the Capitol Police. That's totally outrageous. But I just want to ask you, as an attorney who is involved in these cases, when was the last time you saw a police officer involved in a fatal shooting whose identity wasn't revealed to the public ever? It was never revealed. He decided to reveal it. Has that ever happened that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge. I've never seen it.
So what could possibly be the justification? I mean, there are police shootings all the time, and we've defended a lot of cops who've been involved in them, not all, some. But their names are always public. I mean, aren't they public officials? On what basis can you hide the name of a cop involved in shooting a citizen?
It's just unprecedented. It's never happened. And I think the U.S. Congress has to take responsibility for that. Capitol Police are organized under the Congress. They have ultimate responsibility for that fact. It's a shame.
So, Aaron, I got to ask you, have any members of Congress, any elected officials reached out to you to say, you know, we're going to get to the bottom of this because we care because she was a veteran and a citizen and your wife and her life had meaning? You know, her life mattered, I guess would be one way to put it. Has anybody stuck up for you at all in any way?
I mean, not for me personally that I've spoken with, but Dr. Gosar is actively, talking to my mother-in-law. So he's definitely helping. You got Louis Gohmert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. So there's a couple. I mean, it's 0.5% of 99.5%. So I mean, it's not enough. So we need all the help we can get. It's a Goliath, David versus Goliath fight we got going on here. We have a legal fund. If we can push it for Ashli, go to the Twitter page, check out the legal fund. It's on Give, Send, Go. We need every dollar we can get because we are going to have the weight of the U.S. government coming down, raining down on us. So,
yeah, well,
all the
I
help we
think
can get.
they've taken enough from you. You're not allowed to just shoot people and then blow it off like it's no big deal because you don't like their politics. That is a precedent
Unless you work for the Capitol Police.
Yeah, I got it. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I'm sorry about all this.
Thank you, Tucker.